And welcome, Rooster Boosters, to Rooster Booster Time. I'm the big guy, Scott Farrar. That's Mike the Grand Poobah Paraziti. And today we have with us, I'm going to say newly minted, although we know he's been on the roster. But until Doug Coyle of DJ Coyle Rugby puts it out there, you're not you don't really officially play for New York. Cuyler McCorkindale, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem, bro. And Jason, right off the bat, got whacked by Waka. Bowden Waka, I think, was perfect on all of his conversions against us. Although a lot of his conversions weren't that necessarily that hard. I believe they were pretty much inside inside his wheelhouse. Sam, on the other hand, had a couple tough ones and converted a bunch of them. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what I want to talk about is actually the home opener. I happened to be there. Mike had to play touch rugby or some type of bullshit. Whatever. He committed to a touch rugby tournament. Yeah, okay. Well,
third place, though. Third place.
Yeah, third place. Almost got kicked out for fighting a guy. So, typical scrum half. Always has to talk shit. But yeah, so I got to the match early. I got to see Warriors play Apsatuck. It's was number 4 versus number 9 in the nation as far as high schools were concerned. And it was a great match. It was tight the entire time. And it came down to Apsatuck trying to score at the death and Warriors holding them up to win the match and beat the number 4 team in the nation. So right there, it was exciting. Immediately came in, luckily, me, Rick lets me right on the field. I'm pretty much an unpaid intern at this point. Got to speak to a couple of the guys, got to meet a couple of the new guys, got to see my girl Jazz down at the merch station, look at all the merch, touch all the merch, didn't get to buy any of the merch. Still trying to figure out a way to sneak it past my wife because she's embargoed me from buying the new merch. Got there. It was kind of overcast. When I left my house, I'm about 90 minutes north. It was pouring cats and dogs. And I went, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Like, it was bad. Got down there. The rain through the high school game was decent, Then all of a sudden it broke, and it was beautiful. It was like 65 degrees, a light wind, no rain. Field conditions were perfect because it's that grassy turf, so it's not like it's going to be muddy or anything. And then it was what it was. Jason, my buddy Jay, the number 1 Rudy fan, sits behind me. We got our seats that way we could talk to each other, because if we sat next to each other, we'd kind of like stare at each other awkwardly. We yap at each other, and then behind him is our other buddy Mike Rodriguez. I saw a lot of guys and girls and Rooster Booster fans that I've seen before. Rob Rorty was there. If you guys see Rob, he's another big Rooster Booster. You could usually hear him on the broadcast because he likes to yell as well as I. But
Foden was there.
Yeah, Fodes was there. Connor Wallace Sims was there. Speaking of our really old video that I still have yet to fucking change from 2019, James Denise was there with his lovely wife, and he rides motorcycles. I ride motorcycles. We talk about that often. But yeah, and Connor Wallace Sims on social media said, I'm starting to get the itch again. So I wonder, he was helping out with the under 23s last year. Yep. And, and then he played a couple matches there at the end. So I wonder, I know Foes is in town for some type of rugby event. So check that out. I think it's at the New York AC Club, like $300 a plate, but hey, you get to shake Ben Foden's hand. And yeah, other than that, I had a great time. It was fun. I didn't get to go to the post-match social, but everybody told me it was fun. So guys, we're going to do pre-games at 10th and Willow. We're going to do post-match at 10th and Willow. That's where the players are going to be. So buy them around, buy Cuyler around. And other than that, it's, the end result was sucky. It was a tight game, and I think it just came down to who made less mistakes. And I'm sure Cuyler and the rest of the guys would agree with me. Unfortunately, handling errors, letting them slip by some of the tackles late to gain some ground, and just some, I wouldn't call it, they'd be like mental errors. Jack Heighton going into touch with that ball, he could have just let it go. We get the line out there instead of New England having to line out deep and us trying to defend. But again, you play a whole match, you get tired, and you're trying to outsmart the guys who are trying to outsmart you, and you get a little cute, and it backfires sometimes. I mean, other than that, it was typical New York rugby. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Maybe at times we were trying to play a little cute. I think we were two, strongly matched teams that were playing against each other. Looking at that first match, that first half, is definitely, back and forth throughout, the first part. And then, they just kind of slipped away with it, a few, mental mistakes here and there. And, just some unlucky bounces, and it ends up, going their way. So maybe if it goes the other, a bounce here, a bounce there, a penalty here, a penalty there, goes their way, our way next time, maybe, we come out on top.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's again, it's mental errors, it's tiredness, it's trying to be cheeky. And it is what it is. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world. It's a loss. We got a bonus point. We can move on from it. But yeah, I think as far as we have people talking about the field size, it's not necessarily that small. I mean, me and Mike have played on way smaller fields. Playing inside of football lines. These were played inside the soccer lines, which is almost the dimensions. And as we know, 6 meters is the shortest you can go with an in goal area. And we're not the only team with a 6 meter in goal. So it's the same field we were playing on essentially in Jersey City last year at both stadiums, at Craven Point and at St. John's, because we were playing on the soccer field there too. So I don't know if the field size had anything really to do with it. I think it was more of trying to find the cracks in the armor, and we did a lot of those chip kicks, and New England defended them well, so we couldn't get past them. Great defense by New England, good offense by New England, and we're gonna move on. So the first question. And I finally got to meet one of the guys that we asked this question about. Very important, Cuyler. You might be kicked out of practice depending on your answer.
Right.
Better hair, Charlie Hewitt or Johnny G?
Wow, that is a good question. I think just because Johnny's hair is so dynamic, like he could put it in a ponytail, he could wear it out. It kind of got that psycho look going on. And Charlie's kind of one-dimensional with his hair. He just likes to wear it the one way that he's always worn it. So I'm going to have to go with Johnny G, just simply because it's so dynamic.
Yeah, that's been the answer so far, and I think it's the same way people are used to Charlie with the mullet, to be honest. But Johnny,
Yeah.
Johnny had the man bun rocking on Sunday, so
Yeah,
that's another piece.
Now Ish today, he let his hair free, and it looked like a big mane on a lion. So
That's great.
Ish to Johnny G. I have to give it to Ish today.
And Ish got his first cap, I believe. I don't think he's been capped before, so he got his first cap on Sunday. Joe Basser starting on Sunday. I'm just saying, Joe Basser went from not being in the 23 to being on the show to being in the 2023 twice and then starting. So I'm just saying, Cuyler, we got a good shot here.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm hopeful now. I'm hopeful. that is a good logic. That's good logic. So.
Now I was gonna say, we didn't really go over your rugby resume, but you played down at in college at Mount St. Mary University. How is the rugby culture different from Mount St. Mary compared to Rugby New York?
Yeah.
Or is it different?
Yeah, there's loads of different things. Just from the most obvious point of view, we went from, it's just like an amateur setup. We're just in a university setting with kids who've never played before, to going into a professional environment where you have guys who've played Super Rugby and have played internationally. So clearly, there's just a lot more detail in the game. There's a lot more speed, and just the professionalism and the accountability is just held to a much higher standard at this level than it was in college. And it's, been an awesome experience, but definitely a lot to learn about.
Yeah. And again, we get all of our facts from our buddy Doug Coyle, DJCoyleRugby.com. If you don't have an article by him, you're not really a thing in rugby, to quote Sam Windsor. So let's talk about going from college to professional rugby, in a sense. We asked our buddy Rob Remescu this when we had him on the show last year. Is there a big difference between the 5-day-a-week program at university versus what you're doing at Rudy now, or is it just very similar?
So when you're at university, and I guess this goes for club as well, because you carry that amateur status, just to use university as an example here, you're a student first. So a lot of the times the program at university will schedule around the hours of school, just kind of in the afternoon. That's when we would practice, and then we'd lift late at night. Some schools, lift very early in the morning, and then all the players go to school and whatnot. But that was just the way it worked at Mount St. Mary's. And at Rooney, obviously, it's a full-time job. So we wake up early, go to training, cover what we need to in that day, and then we go home. And depending on the day, it could be a 4-hour day or it could be an 8-hour day. It just depends on what kind of day it is, what detail we have to go over, what meetings need to be had, and just how close we are to the weekend. I will say that because it is a job now, and there's like more of like a professional status about it, the days are a bit more convenient. They're a bit structured, like more professionally than if I were to be in a college program. And so just everything is a bit more clear and organized that's just my perspective on it.
It's funny because you're coming from a program that, is decent, it's up there, it's a high level at Mount St. Mary's versus where I played, where we didn't even have a coach. So it's talk about disorganization and talking about, it was funny, the small field at UMass Dartmouth, we had the front field we would use, and by field I mean there was no lines on it, so we'd have to measure it out. So we would always try and have at least one engineering student on the team because all of us were terrible at measuring, and it would be lopsided and nothing would be straight. But hell, we played on it. But real quick, usually Mike would get the next one, but Doug asked a really good question.
There.
So yeah, Dougie Coyle's asking, what personal improvement have you noticed since you've been training with him?
Well, that is a good question. There's a lot that I feel like I've improved upon, but I honestly think that, obviously your skills are going to get better. You're going to learn to read the game better. You're going to just adapt to the environment around you. But I think the biggest thing that I've noticed within myself and being in this environment is just my overall ability and like confidence just with my on the mental side of things have just gone up. Just being able to go out and play with the likes of Sam Windsor and Jason Emery, Jack Heighton, just all these, Troy Lockyer, all these great players, and you learn from them, and it's just an incredible confidence booster because you're learning from the best in the business. So that's the biggest improvement I've noticed so far.
All right, now I got a real tough question for you. It's a two-parter. High socks or low socks, and then plain cleats or flashy cleats?
Oh man, I love ankle socks, but I don't have any. And when I do wear ankle socks with cleats, they scrape up my ankles. So I'm gonna have to go high socks. And you said flashy cleats or
plain cleats? Yeah, regular old cleats.
I'm a regular old cleats kind of guy. I'm boring like that.
Listen, I'm from the high cleat, the high sock.
That is cool.
Tied around your calf with shoelaces. Not flashy cleat club. Mostly because I have fat fucking wide feet, so they don't make flashy cleats like that for me at least. But the sock thing, I don't know. I always liked the high socks. I think that's what it is. But I also think it's an age thing. Like there's depending on when you played and what was cool at the time. So I get that.
These are
there you go.
Rugby cleats, not too flashy, just regular old Canterbury. I'd still wear them, but the insoles are kind of worn out.
It's funny. I think he's the first guy to actually show us the cleats on camera. And we asked this question to every player we have on here, so it's not like a new thing. But so I'm glad he actually showed us the cleats. So we know Quinn is the boombox master. He has the aux cord at practice. Hold on. Here we go. Hold on. I remember high side with electric. That's how we used to tape our ears. We do one roll of electrical tape with the ears, and then maybe you would, if you had something else to kind of do the blower ear, we'd hit it. But usually just a couple wraps on the electrical tape on the head for us, and then socks we would have extra shoelaces to tie them up, which I felt was better. But so anyway, so we know Quinn has the aux cord. You're allowed to pick one song that you're going to play at practice. What song are you picking?
Hooked by an Ocean. You ever hear it?
I have not. I'm not familiar.
You gotta go. It's kind of like so at practice. Quinn, Troy, all the boys who love to play the music, myself included, we all like to play like EDM music and just feel like I guess we're in like a nightclub or something. So that's the kind of vibe you get from Hooked by Notion.
Gotcha. I don't know.
Right.
I'm old school. I'm like, AC/DC, Metallica.
Forwards play.
Exactly.
So that another question. You're playing, a backyard game of touch, and you're the captain. Who are you picking as your first pick out of any of your, former or current teammates?
First pick. I'm gonna have to go with I'm gonna have to go with Ed Fitto.
Yeah, I mean his step is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Mike and Cuyler played for the same club. I'm glad he didn't pick you, Mike, because you suck.
Yes. I was gonna say
I would have
you're not.
He would have been a steal. Second round.
Yeah, okay.
I was gonna say I feel like you could have thrown one of the Jacobs brothers out there. There's a few guys that you could have thrown out that I'd be like, all right, that would have been a good call out. Maybe getting better graces amongst old breed, but nope, going with Ed Fito. That's gonna come up at K Court time.
Listen, he is a professional rugby player.
Boys, I thought you meant the Rary boys, but I would definitely choose out of everyone ever, aside from you, Mike. Man, I'd have to choose Will Jacobs, to be honest with you.
That's a good pick. That will be remembered.
He is
shaming you.
He will take years off your life after every hit. So, one good hit.
Oh my God, I like how Mike shamed him into changing his answer. Yeah. So my next one is, this is a question we don't get to ask much of the American players. We ask it more of the international players.
Mm-hmm.
But you, with your background, hold on, please play. Here we go. The Fijians and the Samoans would know what to do.
That's one that we play. That is one.
There you go. They play it. There we go. So this question, so you summered, you played in the Crusaders Academy, and I think Marist Albion, right, in New Zealand, in the summer. So tell me how it was for an American going down there to play.
Yeah, that was a very interesting and eye-opening experience. That happened about 4 years ago, 2017, almost 5 years ago. It would have been 5 years this month is when I left for New Zealand. I spent 5 months there, and I graduated high school early because I was working to try and go to a British school, like a school in England, but that fell through. So I found an opportunity online through the Crusaders. They had the International High Performance Unit. So I signed up for 5 months, moved away in March 2017, came back in July, and then went off the Mount for my first year. But while I was there, I was very inexperienced, and I was really young. And it was a very tough time in the first couple months because there were guys there from England under 20s. There were guys there from top league, guys who played professionally in other places. And I was just coming out of Prince William rugby in Virginia. So I was really, inexperienced. And so it took me a while to really find my footing. And even when my time was up there, there was still so much to learn. But I did remember my time at the Crusaders being very similar to the environment of Rugby New York, not just because it's nothing but Kiwis, but because it's so professional and just very high standards all around, and very competitive all the time. So it's something I'd missed, and I'm glad to be back in that kind of environment.
Yeah, on a personal note, I did a study abroad when I turned 16 in Italy. I spent 3 months there in high school, and away from my parents for the first time for 3 months and things like that, and all my family. So I could see you coming right out of high school, and being younger because you graduated early, leaving Virginia, going to New Zealand to play rugby with guys who are already professionals or have been playing at such a high level since they were young. I could see how it might not have been the best experience at the time, but you can look back on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, I think it's what got me into New York anyway. Like I came to a practice for the academy like maybe last May, and I had to help set up the field after the practice. Like it was the first training for the academy, and I met Nikki, Rick's wife or fiance. Yeah. And I asked her where she was from, and she told me she was from New Zealand, and that's when I started talking to her about my time in Christchurch. She's like, "Oh, really?" And then I got to meet Rick and told him about it, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, like that's awesome."
It's funny. He's looking for guys who just any type of New Zealand. He's looking for you guys. You don't actually have to be from New Zealand.
Yeah, he got Ish from that. A couple other guys as well. So yeah, as long as you go to New Zealand, play rugby there, then you can go play for Rooney.
All right, Mike, let's give him the last one and talk about then we'll talk about the San Diego match coming up.
I was going to say, what is your favorite rugby New York jersey this season? Is it, the home, the away, the heritage, or the neighborhood jersey?
I'm kind of boring. I'm going to have to go with the blue. I think it looks best with the shorts and best with the socks. And I think we've always just been blue. Blue is our identity. We're Rugby New York. That's what we are. We're blue. I do like the white though. I like the white.
No, the blue with the blue shirt, the blue shorts, the blue socks, with the orange tinge to them. It's just classic.
The straight blue. I do like the polo with the lighter blue, but my favorite is the straight blue with the Statue of Liberty in the front.
Oh, that's a good one. I forgot. I said that was going to be the last question. I forgot. We usually ask this question as a follow-up. It can't be a Rooney jersey. What kit would you spend your money on? And it has to be an MLR kit. What would you pay for to wear?
And like, it has to be a different team in the MLR.
Yep.
I do like the Guiltini's pink.
That's what I'm saying. It's a great. The Guiltinis have great colors. Mike disagrees with me because he's a shithead, but they have great colors. I love their whites. I love their blacks. I love when they do the pinks.
Yeah, probably pink.
Yeah. See, Mike. See.
Yeah.
So, I just don't like white. I just don't like white as a jersey.
No, I was gonna get
that's just me.
White is no, the pink though for sure.
You guys are killing me. I love the all white. Anyway. So let's talk about, we have a matchup coming. So Sunday, 4 p.m., JFK Stadium, Hoboken, New Jersey. The big guy will be there. We got Legion coming to town. That means guys like Chris Robshaw, Ma'ananu, Patrick Madden, who's a great young player, is on that team. I love Patrick. I'm glad to call him a friend. I mean, this is going to be a tough matchup. Last time we played San Diego was week 1 of last year. And as you guys remember, unfortunately for San Diego, they had their first 4 stadiums taken away from them. And so they were playing at one stadium. Obviously, they couldn't do it in San Diego, so they moved it to Vegas, right? The week of, Vegas tells them you can't play there. They moved to a 3rd stadium. Vegas says you can't play there. And then they moved to a 4th stadium the day before the match. We came out, we beat them. Yeah, we beat them handedly, but I got to be honest, it just, I could see with the way the situation worked itself out, it wasn't the best for San Diego, because they're trying to figure out all this other logistical stuff. And then, that bullshit flows over to on the field because it's just, everybody was kind of crazy. So this season, now we're getting them, week 6, they're in the hunt for a playoff spot in the West Coast. They have everybody back and off of injured reserve. So this is going to be a tough one. I think what's going to happen, and this is what I want to happen, and this is, one of those things, maybe it's just because I'm a fat, front row guy. Rooney has to utilize the pick and goes. They haven't done it all season. I think that's something they should have utilized last week. I know we're trying to play this, this Kiwi Southern Hemisphere style, get the ball out. But when you come up with a great tackling team like New England, you might not get that line break you were expecting. And even Eddie Fido got bottled up a couple times. Jason Emery got bottled up a couple times. Fossey got bottled up a little bit. So I feel go back to ground and pound, pick and go, have Chance go, have Butch go, have Nate Brakely against Dallas had like a 40-meter run that he had guys draped all over him. That's the kind of runs I think we need to break somebody's spirit, especially if our backline play is not working. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think that, San Diego's got they have a very strong team, and we didn't play a full San Diego team last year. You got to think there was no Rob Shaw, there was no Mananu. Those are the two big names. A whole other complement of guys that weren't there last season, and we squeaked out a win against them. I think I think the key is going to be winning that that big battle up. In that first 10 minutes. Demoralize them. Take the lead. Continue to hold the lead and, keep, pedal to the metal. Don't let off the gas.
Absolutely. And I think, again, mistakes, we got to get away from some of those mistakes, those handling errors, those kind of, mental mistakes we're making. So let me ask Cuyler. So Cuyler, San Diego's coming to town. Let's say you're in the 23 here. You're a center. Ma'ananu has 40 meters running at you free. What are you doing?
I got to chop. I gotta at least
That's it, right?
tackle. Yeah, but to tackle Mananu in my first ever MLR game, that would be a great memory because one of the first people I ever looked up when I was figuring out what rugby was on YouTube. But yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that Free Jacks shut us down defensively. And for this week, we have to kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit and figure out what works for us and go back to what makes us Rugby New York and figure out what our basics strategy would be. But, they do San Diego, like you said, they got Chris Robshaw, they got Mananu, who, I'm not sure how much time he's getting this year, but his leadership and his experience is definitely going to be very valuable to them. And they have ball players like Will Hooley, and Nate Osberger, who we also have to take an account for. So just for us, we just have to play a good defensive game and play our structure when we get the ball in attack. And I think that we have every bit of talent that we need to, get the edge on them. We just got to come out and be ready, be cleared, good to execute. So
absolutely. And our buddy Phil Harris is here from Jack's Rangers New England Fan Club. Checking this out. I'd love to see him showing support. I definitely think we do have the talent. I think this is going to be another banger. I think it's going to be back and forth. I always feel like when the East Coast teams go to the West Coast, they're a little sluggish. But when the West Coast teams come out here for whatever reason, sometimes they don't have that. I feel when East Coast moves to West, the urgency is sometimes not there in the first 10 minutes. But that doesn't happen when West Coast comes out here. So we're going to see what's going to happen the first 10 minutes. If we can really punch them in the mouth and handle the game, I think we're going to do great. I was finally happy to see Andrew Coe finally getting that cross kick try, not being offsides this time.
Yeah.
And I think something really telling, and it's one of those things where when you hear a guy like this say this, you're like, okay, you kind of see where they're at. Kalolo Tuoloma wrote on his Instagram about that game. He said, thank you very much to the fans for coming. It was a great atmosphere, but humbled by the loss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I want to hear from a player. He's taking it personally. He realizes for whatever reason he didn't play, his best to get a win, and he's going to go into the next match to do that. So I'm very happy to see players on our team that feel that way. Because I do think you guys were a little hyped up. You're coming off a big Dallas win. You're in front of a home crowd, but you were playing New England, who we know, New England, us, and ATL are going to be in the top three continually for the entire year. So can't take them for granted. Mike, score. Kyler, you don't have to do. We don't ask you to do a score prediction, but Mike, I need a score prediction from you.
I was gonna say Rugby New York by 3, but the other thing that you were talking about, West coming East, I think they're going to be sluggish, and I'm going to point out something that just popped into my mind, and I'm looking it up just to make sure. Sunday, March 13th is daylight savings time. We're losing an hour. That's one more hour that that pushes it back a little bit. That they think you're supposed to be. So hopefully, a team from the West Coast coming to the East Coast to adjust, losing an additional hour, it might mess with them. So I'm picking Rugby New York by 3, but I think if you see a sluggish, San Diego team, it could be a lot more.
I think I'm going. And Doug Cololo was selected to first team MLR for second straight week. He did really well up front. He was making great tackles. I think I'm going with Jay. Me and Jay are on a mind meld. I'm going Rooney by 2. I think it's going to be back and forth. I'm going to say it every week until it happens. Sam Windsor slots a kick at the death, whether it's a drop goal or a penalty kick to win the match. It's going to happen one of these days. I'm going to be right. I'm going to call it this week. But guys, thank you very much for watching. Again, catch me and Mike doing the pre-match show. Mike, are you coming down this week?
I'm not coming down this week.
What the fuck? Mike's not coming down this week. So I will be at the stadium at JFK. Can't wait to see you guys on Sunday. Come up, say hi to me, grab a picture, throw it on social media. I love to do that with the fans. Bother me on the field because all the friggin' Rooney administrators and people who work there do in the middle of our show, which is always fun. As a matter of fact, Stephen Lewis kicked the ball at me. I think he didn't realize that I was on air, but he kicked the ball at me. Come by, hang out, see you at the stadium. Again, 10th and Willow and Finnegan's are the 2 places we go for pre-match. Post-match social at 10th and Willow. Go say hi to the players, buy them around, buy Cuyler around. And we're hoping he cracks the 23 this week.
Yep.
And he's a great young player. We're excited to see these guys being on the team, being a part of the team. And slowly but surely, we're seeing a lot of the new guys start to crack the 23. So I love the rotation in that. It's not just like, oh, we're only going with these guys because of age or experience or whatever. Blood the new guys. That's how people get better. Anyway, I'm the big guy, Scott Farrar. That's Mike the Grand Poobah Parazzini. For Cuyler McCorkindale, the rest of the Rooster Boosters, and all the guys, have a good day, and we'll see you at the next one.